Hi everyone, and welcome to another conversation. We've got something really special, a really special guest. We've got Dr. Chris with us. Dr. Chris, how are you?
Oh, I'm good. Thanks for us. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing very well.
Great.
So today we're just going to have a general chit chat, but I thought we might start with a little icebreaker, Chris.
Okay.
In front here we've got some cards and it doesn't sound really good. It's got dad joke face off. Point of this game is that we tell each other jokes, and the first one that laughs has to take one of these bad boys. So,
Okay, all right.
Bit of
Hazardous.
toxic waste.
All right. Which shape, Russ, loves demolition work? The rectangle. Pretty good straight face you got going.
Thank
on
you.
there.
Let's
All
do
right,
another one.
Let's go.
Maybe none of these will make us laugh. That'll be funny.
We'll see. Then we both have to.
Good icebreaker. Yeah.
What do you call a pig with a toupee? Piggly Wiggly.
It's, oh no, hang on. Oh,
You
no.
laughed.
All right. Okay, so I'll take that one
It's
on
your
the
rules.
chin. This is going to be so interesting. I think you really want one of these,
I was
don't
laughing
you?
at my own. Trying to keep a straight face.
Maybe we could talk about unknown circumstances, how we might, as in our makeup, typically deal with that. And I know a lot of people deal with it in different ways. But is there something, that we can talk generally about there that might...
Yeah, look, I mean, change is always something which can induce fear and uncertainty, and that's really where it can be a struggle. Some people look forward to a good change, and that's because they can anticipate that something good is coming down the track to them. But when change is forced upon us, or when there's some trouble that we can foresee from the change ahead, then it can make it really difficult to adjust to that sort of change. And we've been through a lot of changes here in Australia and all over the world in the last few months, really unexpected stuff that we haven't had much control over at all. And that can be really, really anxiety provoking. It can be really stressful because it means that we don't have this control over what's happening in our environment.
Yeah, it seems to be the big thing, doesn't it? Like, there's an initial shock. I think when it was first announced what was going on, it was like, oh my goodness, like the initial shock of it all. And I've had that in my life before too, where just something that's happening, and you just got no answer for it. You can't see the outcome. And I found that, well, in my experience, that my mind started racing ahead, trying to work out how this was all going to unfold.
Yeah.
What makes us do that?
Yeah, I mean, you bring up a really good point, because human beings, we have this really innate drive to be able to be safe and secure. And so when we're faced with an uncertain circumstance, it's really natural to try and work out, where is my security going to come from in this situation? And it can be a bit of a difficult one, because at the same time, when you're feeling very stressed with this uncertain changes, your mind plays a trick where it's so focused on working out how to keep safe that it stops using its rational thought processing part of the brain.
Okay.
And so what happens is people get into a highly stressed state, and their body reacts as though they're going to have to do something dangerous. So your heart rate goes up, primes your muscles ready to do something. You find that your breathing rate goes up, but often there's no physical thing that you can do about it when there's this agent out in the world that you don't really have control over. So you end up in this really high stress state with racing heart and breathing hard and feeling really stressed and like agitated. You need to do something, but you don't have anywhere to focus your energy. And the outcome tends to be that your thoughts try to find a way to make your environment safe.
Right.
And so you start thinking of lots of different alternative outcomes,
Okay.
but nothing can really be enacted, so it just keeps going over in that circle. And that's why people find that their thoughts just start to turn over and over in their head. It's like they're trying to think 100 thoughts at the same time. Quite often people will be lying awake at night, not being able to sleep, and being really stressed and agitated and short, because they can't really process things that are going on in their environment very well.
Yeah. And I guess, like, if you look at the makeup of us, obviously that's a natural thing. You know, if people are experiencing that, it's not because there's something wrong with them.
No.
We're actually designed this way.
Yep.
Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, it's perfectly natural to be feeling that way, but it can be really difficult to find an exit from that thought loop that people trap themselves in.
Is that it, like? I read a book once. It was about the connection between adrenaline and stress, and it was all about the mind and stuff. And the fight and flight came up. It really struck me that if you look at the old days, you know, when you're out hunting or something or other, and that was your source of food, and this is how he likened it, was, you know, all of a sudden you come across a bear, your body's going to just release itself of everything so that you can run. So it doesn't want any excess fluids in your body, like, you know, that type of thing. But in these circumstances, we're not getting to that point, I guess, where there's a release and they're like, okay, I'm running from that animal, bang. So is that what you're saying? We sort of, you know, that's an action that's going to get us away from this. But in these types of changes, there's nowhere to really go. Like you said, your mind keeps going over and over.
Yeah, it can be really hard to find that safe place. So in your example, you're running from the bear, then you're away from the bear, and then you can be safe, and then you don't have to be in that state anymore.
Yeah.
Whereas when we don't have a focus of where our danger's coming from, then we never find a safe place to be. So it's really interesting that you brought up fight or flight, because that is certainly part of the drive that gives us that reaction. But there's actually a third state to fight or flight. There's fight, flight, or freeze. And that freeze state is a really interesting one. This is the deer in the headlights kind of a situation. And sometimes people find that as well. They get more stressed and more stressed and more stressed, and all of a sudden they're overwhelmed and they just can't do anything anymore.
Right.
And that's part of that same really high adrenaline, high energy response to a difficult situation.
Is there any sort of takeaway that I guess we can help to get clarity in situations like this?
Yeah, look, there's a few things that you can look at doing, and it's really important to remember that that high stress, high adrenaline, fight, flight, or freeze scenario that can occur is not just for situations where there's, you know, a worldwide pandemic. It happens every day in things like workplace stress, trouble with your family. You know, there's loud noises because lots of kids at home and everything's always really busy. Sure. Those things will all build up our stress. So it's really a regular part of everyday life, and it's not unusual to be living in that high stress state, being really agitated, short-tempered, because you're not being able to sit down, cool down, and think your way through kind of what's going on for you as well.
Yeah.
And so there are a few things that can really help to take that high stress, high adrenaline situation out.
Right.
What you really need to do is be able to bring that adrenaline down. So that really means making some kind of safe space, and there's a couple of ways that you can do that. So one thing that I quite often recommend is finding a place that's calm and being able to do things which change the way that your body is responding in that moment. So it's really important when things are getting stressed to be able to find a way to let things cool down for your body. So when you're getting that high adrenaline situation, you get things like that racing heart, the really heavy breathing, the really tight muscles. There's a few of those things that you can physiologically control in your body, which are really helpful. That feeds back into your body that this is a safe place now, and you don't have to be in that high anxiety state. And so that's where you see things like structured breathing as a relaxation strategy, because you can control your breathing, and that's a nerve-based reaction in your body, and you can push back into your brain this idea that you don't have to have a high heart rate, and that can really help to bring down that high stress state and bring back your ability to think clearly. Similarly, there's ways of practicing tensing and releasing all your muscles in sequence, and that can be another way of feeding back to your body that this is a safe place. And we can link through some websites that have some ways that you can practice how to do that, if you want to give that a go as well.
Yeah.
It can really help, especially if your mind's racing at night, and you can do it just while you're lying in bed to help you calm down a little bit.
That's so good. And Dr. Chris, is there any other techniques that maybe you'd like to share as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the drivers of high stress is not being able to have a lot of control over what's happening in your life. And that's a real innate human need to have some kind of autonomy or decision-making power about what's happening for you. So it can be really useful to do what you can to make your home environment as comfortable as you can, to do things to make sure that you're looking after yourself with exercise and regular routines can be really helpful as well, because you can control what's happening for you. And when you have that control over your own routine, especially things, like getting up and making your bed in the morning is a really easy one. Having a routine when the kids are in bed at night, that you will go and read for a bit and then go to bed and do that every single night. You've already made that decision. It takes pressure off deciding, what am I going to do now? Should I read a book? Should I watch some TV? Do I have taxes to do? What's happening? It can be really helpful to have some kind of routine and control, and then that gives you a sense that you are in charge of your own situation. Even if there's things happening out there in the world that you can't control, you can come home to your safe place and deal with them.
We just talk about stimulants for a sec. I'm going to mention a real bad example here, but coffee, it is touted as a strong stimulant. Are there things that we can do in our diet and our intake of certain things that can help with stress levels as well?
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right to bring up coffee, because a lot of coffee can make you feel really stressed and agitated and anxious sometimes as well. Similarly, alongside coffee go things like energy drinks. People can take those in really high quantities, and sugar can make you feel quite wired as well. Some workout supplements will contain a lot of caffeine, so certainly be careful of that kind of thing. And I do see people using a lot of alcohol and sometimes even other illicit drugs to try and cope as well. And what we often see is using those things in high quantities can really make your situation a lot worse, can make the way you're feeling a lot worse as well. So certainly something to think about and keep in mind.
Yeah, absolutely. No, they're very helpful hints, and we'll put more stuff up on the website too, links to certain things that can help you in these times. And we really hope you enjoyed this session. I know I did. I've still got a bit of lolly stuck in here, but I think we did pretty well. We didn't spit it out or pike it or anything like that. We persisted and and I think it got us through actually. So really look forward to catching up with you next time. And Dr. Chris, thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Bye for now.
See ya.